The discussion that I heard on the podcast that I was listening to, um, people were celebrating the fact that they were discussing this. They were discussing IT in general. They were discussing Facebook and how it uses some degree of AI to do its work, place ads, and all of those kinds of things. They were bemoaning the fact that there was no public scrutiny of those particular institutions. Right now, AI and robotics is almost completely a private sector activity, which is fine. The private sector is ingenious. It's where the money is. It's where the money to be made is. But as they become larger and larger and larger, and what I just heard a new acronym is GAFA, Google, Apple, Facebook, and Amazon. So the GAFA companies have now such enormous power that they can use that to make money for themselves, to help their customers, but it can also be abused. And so when do those morph over into a public utility? When is Facebook considered to be a public utility, like the telephone company or like a pipeline company, a common carrier? And so where the public has a chance to have it. So we can have this discussion on radio programs and on blogs and video that we're doing here. But in the end of the day, these decisions are being made in boardrooms and in laboratories that we don't know what's going on. And so in that sense, I think we could have the discussion, but what is going to happen is largely outside of the civic realm. And that is because, unfortunately, one position I have is that we have what I call the best government money can buy. And so business interests influence government officials to stay away from this stuff because they're plowing ahead doing all this stuff without really understanding what the consequences are.
Because I was going to ask, do you think the government should be trying to break this GAFA monopoly? But if the government is in the pockets of this GAFA, then
break is probably too strong a word. I think we have to have much more scrutiny about mergers and acquisitions. Number one, we have to ask companies with this kind of enormous societal influence to be more transparent about what they do, what their plans are, what their algorithms are, and how they're approaching these kinds of things. As we are with the military, as we are with police, which also have tremendous power at their disposal, but for the most part, they try and they're supposed to be transparent. Now we have private businesses that do not have to be transparent. Oh, it's all proprietary, and there's nothing that we can do about it. That's a dangerous situation. So we can have all the discussion we want, but if it's in the hands of people who don't have to say what they're doing and can do basically whatever until something bad happens, and then Facebook gets a red face, and then they have to change. They tweak this and tweak that, and away they go. But for the most part, it's in their hands. And I'm as much of a capitalist as anybody. Capitalism has done great things for a portion of the world. It's done some horrible things for another portion of the world. But on the other hand, any good thing, when it's taken to an extreme, becomes a bad thing. Too much water, you drown. Too much food, and you get diabetes. Too much anything, too much alcohol, and you ruin your life. So too much capitalism, not enough guardrails, not enough guidance by the public sector where we have a balance. That balance, I don't know, in the U.S. particularly, is completely blown. The public sector has almost no influence over what goes on in the society. And to the extent that the U.S. multinationals are involved in all countries of the world, then the public sectors are not doing much at all. It's more of a stage show. It's more of a facade. What's going on behind the scenes is all about the money. And the money to get elected, the money to stay elected, and the lobbying that's done for all of that.